Zubai was reacting to a leaked memo which has gone viral on social media, which shows that the minister approved the payment of the said amount into a private account owned by one Oniyelu Bridget Mojisola. The leaked document also showed that the payment of the 585 million naira meant for vulnerable groups in Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Ogun, and Lagos states was made into Oniyelu's account. In the meantime, the Accountant General of the Federation, Oluwatoyin Madeyin, says she did not honor the request of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, to transfer 585 million naira to a private account. Madam said, and I quote, "No bulk money is supposed to be transferred to an individual account in the name of project accountant." In a statement on Saturday, Bawa Mokwa, Director of Press in the Office of the Accountant General, said the AGF does not make payments for projects implemented by ministries, departments, and agencies. In a related development, a former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development, Shadiya Umar Farouk, on Wednesday last week failed to appear at the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja to answer questions over an alleged 37.1 billion fraud. Having failed to appear in person to answer the summons of the anti-graft agency, the former minister was also said not to have sent a legal counsel. Umar Farouk served as minister under former President Muhammadu Buhari from August 2019 to May 2023. I'm now being joined here by Jake Epele, who is Chief Executive Officer of TAF Africa, formerly known as Abino Foundation, and is here to address the reported lack of progress on disability inclusion in that ministry and the various allegations about the leadership of the former minister Shadiya Farouk and the latest developments in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Welcome to This Is Live, Jake Epele. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Dr. Ruben, and good evening, Nigerians.
Well, I don't need to go into the details again, but you have been quoted in another forum as saying that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and the National Social Investment Program are both tainted and should be scrapped. Why should we scrap such an important government intervention just because there have been allegations of mismanagement, poor leadership, and a violation of financial regulations?
Dr. Ruben, I think point of correction, I did say that they should be probed. The Ministry of Humanitarian have become un-humanitarian theater of fraudulent practices. And when this kind of staggering amount of fraudulent misappropriation of public fund is in the public domain, has been discovered, that are in the public domain has been discovered, any responsible government, which I think this government is, should probe such ministry and go further to put a stop to every and any program that we are fast discovering have become a conduit pipe for siphoning public funds, beginning with the former minister. You know, the former minister played a very dirty role that trailed across the entire length and breadth of the Ministry of Humanitarian. She was literally running it like a private business. That's why she was approving sending public funds into private account. And by the way, let me address the media and publicity gentleman that works with the current Minister of Humanitarian. It is not true that it is legal. There is no legality around transferring public funds into private purse. I took time out this afternoon to look at the 2009 Financial Regulation Act. I think Chapter 6 of it, subsection 619, made it very clear that no public officer should part with public funds, talk less of paying it into their private purse. Chapter 7, subsection 718, made it very clear that it is illegal and an offense, you know, punishable by imprisonment and all of that, you know, if an individual, a public servant, pays public funds into their private purse, irrespective of whatever the reasons are, you know. I wasn't surprised, to be honest with you, what is happening to Dr. Farouk and the way and manner she was carrying herself and running the ministry. Although what is in the public domain right now in the media is an allegation until she's found guilty, you know. But the level of misappropriation, Dr. Abati, is alarming. It's far more than the 37.1 billion that everybody is talking about. It's far, far more than that. There are, I mean, fictitious claims, 523 million US dollars that she claimed from the World Bank, that she claimed that she used in feeding the school feeding program, sorry, you know. And at the time that she was making that claim, the schools were on lockdown, you know. And there are other issues around ICPC that she was investigated, 2.6 billion naira investigation, and all of that. At a point, former President Buhari did query her publicly. And I'm asking, why is it that she was allowed to continue as a public servant? You know, and look, I don't want to play tribalism here, you know. To be honest with you, if Farouk is from the south and she's being asked to refund what she's refunding, and EFCC is inviting her and she's not showing up, it would have been a different case. And I think it's high time EFCC should go and get her arrested. She should account for the public funds that was in her possession as a minister. She's a minister of the she was a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a public servant, and she should not treat issues like this with levity. It is appalling, despicable, and unforgivable.
Okay, Mr. Pele, I get your point. Okay, you are asking for a probe, for an investigation. Not that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs should be scrapped. Yes. And you are not alone in that regard. This is the same position of Huriwa, another, you know, NGO. This is the position of NEFGAD, and this is the position of another NGO also, Progress for Nigeria. But Progress for Nigeria is asking for what they call, they are doing what they call hashtag BetterGate 2024, which takes me to the subject of the involvement of Beta Edu. Now, it's as follows. The now suspended, removed, CEO of the NSIPA, the National Social Investment Program Agency, said, oh, she decided to move 37-point-something billion because the minister herself had taken about 3.7 billion into a private account. So she too quickly moved something into a private account. Can that be justified? You've quoted sections of the Financial Regulations Act 2009. So if you take money this way, I too can take money that way. Is that what we're dealing with?
Well, both of them are culpable. Both of them should account for them. Both of them have committed crime. I was a little bit shocked and taken aback by the current minister of humanitarian, you know. And I'm saying what I saw this afternoon on social media, where she came out to say that she indeed approved the 585 million naira and listed the states that it was going to, and that it was paid into private account because there are many vulnerable people that don't have an account. And my question is, 585 million, that's over and above $500 million naira, will be in an individual account, and it will be transferred to people that ordinarily that money should go to. I mean, come on. I'm a bit disappointed if, going by what I've seen, if it happened that truly and really that was her, and that video is not doctored, doctored, I will be very, very disappointed, because I had high hope with somebody like Betta being a young, brilliant woman, giving women, breaking the ceiling, for women and the youth, and that leaves us to this glamoring and the pushing and advocacy for women to be in leadership position. And the impression is that they're going to do better, they're going to do well, they are good resource managers, and this is happening. It is very disappointing, very, very disappointing. And I consider her a good person. I consider her a friend. And this happening under her leadership, I am disappointed.
Well, you made a point earlier on about ethnicity. And there are persons who are saying that Minister Betta Edu is a victim of ethnic victimization. And that there are persons who are doing this to her, raising allegations because she's from a particular part of the country, the South. Can that argument stand?
No, Dr. Ruben, I'm a Niger Delta person. I'm from South. And I don't think there is any group, reasonable group, that understand public accountability that will come out and support this kind of, saga. I don't think so. I think it's purported. I think it's something that some people somewhere is trying to cook in order to change the narrative and divert attention. Truly and really, there are too many programs under the Ministry of Humanitarian that they were supposed to be do us good. They were supposed to serve the need of the needy, But obviously, it has become a conduit pipe for fraudulent misuse of public funds. And I think the presidency should step in and shut down all those programs and do a forensic audit of all of them and how they have operated, hold those that should be held accountable. It is taxpayers' money. Let anyone probe me. I pay tax. I pay to the latter. And anybody involved in this kind of practice is a total disservice to humanity. Let's not turn Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs as Ministry of Unhumanitarian Affairs. And this is very appalling, because, reeling out some of Betta's very, very laudable strategic plan for the community. If this is happening under her watch, except she comes out to feign ignorant or deny it completely, I am absolutely disappointed, and the president should step in and probe the entire Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Otherwise, critical stakeholders like us, we will lose complete confidence in both the leadership and the ministry and their program.
Well, I recall, I just heard you at the beginning of our conversation being very critical of Shadiya Umar, the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. But I recall that under our watch, there was similar grant for vulnerable groups. Many members of the group that you lead were beneficiaries. So I'm surprised that you are so critical of her, even when...
Dr. Ruben,
yes.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, even when, persons known to you, groups known to you, benefited from the program under our watch.
Well, Dr. Ruben, I'm sure you're not her spokesperson, but to be honest with you, I lead a reasonable and sizable members of the community. Not anyone I know that have approached me and said they benefited from whatever she was doing, not my own direct community, persons with albinism, I can't remember anyone approaching me to say that they benefited from it. I had my experience, with her, and when I gave her the condition by which I wanted to work with her, and they did not adhere to that condition, I pulled back, because a good name is better than a big name. And people like that, I'm not surprised what is happening, because she never acted straight in the way and manner she was carrying out her affairs. She was running the ministry like her private business. And this is what you get when you're not transparent, when you're not open, when you will refuse to be held accountable, when you try to make excuses, when you should be at the driver's seat. So this is exactly the issue. I'm not saying anything because I know that the matter is under investigation. Right now it appears to be an allegation, but it's almost looking like an obvious issue that she has to deal with and come out plainly and take responsibility if you have to, do refunds if you have to, but also pay the price for making wrong choices. And individuals like this should not be in the public office at all. Okay,
very strong indictment there coming from you, but Mr. Pele, let me ask you this. In other parts of the world, in Bangladesh and elsewhere, they have similar programs targeted at helping vulnerable groups in society. In Nigeria, we tried the People's Bank. It didn't work. In Nigeria, again, we are trying grants for vulnerable groups. It's not working. Why is it that what works elsewhere does not work here?
Simply put, Dr. Ruben, because we have the wrong people in the right programs. We have the wrong people in doing the right project. We have people who are heartless, who did not and doesn't want the poor to breathe. We have people who feel that an opportunity like this is an opportunity for them to siphon money and enrich themselves. And what is happening right now is an exposure that I believe is orchestrated divinely to expose them, because you can't steal from the poor and have your life together. So it didn't work. It's not working here because we don't want it to work. It's not working here because we politicize everything. Everything is about politics. If I have to put my own person, and that's it. We anoint the incompetent at the expense of the competent. So that's why it's not working. Those success principles operates everywhere. Success principles. Yes, there are environmental issues. Yes, there are. But then it does operate everywhere. If it worked in Bangladesh, if it worked elsewhere, in Kenya, it will work in Nigeria if we want it to work. If those in leadership position will bring the right people that will do the job and allow the public to hold them accountable and allow the public to scrutinize what they do and see what they are saying, if they are living what they are saying. So it's not working because we have the wrong people. If we have the right people, it will work. There are several programs in this country that are working. Arise is a private station, is working because we have the right people running it. Why can't government things work?
Well,
simply put.
Thank you for the compliment.
Because they are politicizing it.
Well, thank you for the compliment, but finally, let me ask you, your group and others that I mentioned earlier on, Progress for Niger, NEFGAD, and Huriwa, you are calling for probe investigation. But some other groups have gone a step further. They're saying that President Tinubu should not sweep what is happening under the carpet in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and in the NSIPA program, and that he should ask for resignations. Will you be willing to go that far?
Well, for the minister, for the current minister, if she's under probe, once she goes under probe, I will ask her, I will say in the interest of probity, accountability, and transparency, she should step aside, But let's be careful so that we don't send an innocent individual, all right, out of office just because of the sentiment around it. But I also want to say that, Dr. Ruben, because if truly, like I said, I've watched this afternoon the minister on tape saying that she did approve. If that is true, that is unacceptable. I think Better Edu should have known better, that she doesn't have a right to ask for such funds to be paid into a private account. She does not have that legal right and moral right, because it's not possible it's practically impossible for them to be able to administer the transfer through an individual private account. You know,
Well,
it's absolutely not possible.
Okay.
And if truly the accountant general says no, and she went ahead to transfer that funds, then she has violated the law and she should face the consequence.
Okay, on that note, Mr. J.K. Pele, I would like to thank you very much for joining us on This Day Live this Sunday.